You talked yourself out of it before you even tried. You lowered the price before anyone complained. You expected the rejection before you sent the proposal. You prepared for the worst, and in doing so, quietly guaranteed the worst. You didn't do that because the odds were against you. You went there, got the odd into the boat because your mind was programming it. This is called pessimism bias. My name is Dr. Kali Cussons, Africa's premium high performance thinking and strategic execution expert. So, this is bias number 36 in our 225 plus bias series. 225 plus bias series. Now, look at it. Pessimism bias has to do with the tendency to systematically overestimate the probability of negative outcomes and now underestimate the likelihood of positive ones. This causes a person to consistently expect things to go worse, to go south than the objective evidence, probability, and past performance actually suggests they will go. It is the precise cognitive mirror or opposite of what we call optimism bias. We treated it last. But the damage of pessimism bias is quieter. The damage is quieter. The damage is less dramatic and in many ways more insidious. But the other person think, I'm being wise, I'm being careful, I'm being realistic. So why optimism bias destroys through recklessness? Pessimism bias destroys through paralysis. Optimism bias makes you leap without looking. Pessimism bias keeps you standing at the edge, looking forever, never leaping. And here's what makes pessimism bias particularly dangerous and particularly difficult to identify and challenge. It always feels like wisdom. It feels like being realistic. It disguises itself as caution, as responsibility, as hard-won experience. I know this. I know things don't happen this way. As the mature perspective of someone who has been hurt before and is simply being realistic. This is what happened to this order of my business. This is what happened to. But there is a profound difference between realistic caution based on evidence and systematic negative distortion based on fear. The first one is wisdom. The other is pessimism bias, wearing the garment of wisdom. Now, there are several ways you can talk about this in business and in relationships. And let's just look at that very quickly. So in business, you're a talented graphic designer. You've been freelancing for 3 years. Your work is genuinely exceptional. Your existing clients, they rave about you. They rave about your portfolio. Your portfolio is competitive with designers charging 3 to 4 times what you are currently charging. You want to raise your price. You've been wanting to raise your price for 18 months. But every time you come to the point of raising your price, but every time you approach that decision, pessimism bias floods the room. You start thinking, clients will leave. The market isn't ready for this price raise. People won't pay that in Nigeria. People won't pay that in Ghana, in Europe. I will lose everything I've built. It's not the right time. Let me wait, maybe next quarter, maybe next year. None of these conclusions are based on data. None of them have been tested. They are projections. generated not by market research, but by a brain that is systematically overestimating the probability of negative outcomes. So, this particular person, you stay underpriced. She stays overworked. She under-earns. He watches less talented designers charge more and attribute it to luck or connection rather than to the simple courage of believing that their work was worth the number that they want to charge. Your pessimism, her pessimism, becomes pessimism bias. This is not protecting your business. This is running your business and ruining it. Running it straight into a ceiling you built from fear and you call this reality. This also devastates entrepreneurial initiative at the launch stage. You want to launch a particular product. Like now, I want to launch like 2 businesses. It has held me down for some time. What I'm doing is progressing. What I'm doing is doing so well. Why do you want to just disturb yourself about this? What if it doesn't go well? And all those. So a brilliant idea sits in a notebook for years, sits in your laptop for years. It is not sitting there because you've researched and found that it lacks merit. It's not sitting there because the market doesn't want it, doesn't need it. It is sitting there because the owner has already conducted the entire failure simulation in his head and concluded it will work. I know how this country, nobody is ready to pay for this. He has failed a business he never started. She has received a rejection from a market she never approached. He has lost an investment he never made. All in his mind, all generated by pessimism bias. And the tragedy is, he calls this thinking, I'm being realistic. Leave that in, bro. Let's be realistic. The same in relationships. A woman comes out of a painful relationship, generally painful, real hurt, real betrayal, real loss. The wound is legitimate. So she has every right to mistrust and distrust everybody. But as time passes and healing begins, pessimism bias quietly moves in and sets up residence in her heart. Every new person she meets is pre-evaluated through the lenses of inevitable disappointment. Now she says, he seems genuine now, but they always do it at the beginning. This feels good, which probably means something is wrong that I haven't discovered yet. This is how the last one happened. I'm not going to invest too much because this won't last. It's always like that with me. I'm not lucky with relationship. This particular lady, this particular guy is not being careful. She is not being wise. She is making a confident prediction about a future she has not yet lived, based on a past that was real, but is not inevitable. It's not the truth. It's not the hallmark. And the cruelest part of pessimism bias in relationship is this. This lady's guardedness, this guy's guardedness, her emotional distance, her premature withdrawal communicates to genuinely good people that she's unavailable. And ultimately, the same thing happened. So, genuinely good people who have their own dignity eventually stop trying because they found out that there's something wrong with the way she's approaching this relationship. Now, this withdrawal from these other people or who stop trying will now confirm her prediction. She said, I said it. This will strengthen her bias. This will make the next cycle of guardedness even more justified in her heart and stronger. Get it? Pessimism bias doesn't just predict negative outcomes. It engineers them. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then uses the engineered outcome as evidence that the prediction was correct. and the circle continues. As you know, in our best series, we're almost always more interested in what's the solution. How can we solve this? What are the fixes? So there are 3 moves: liberating, practical, and immediately applicable, pragmatic, that you can just use immediately and remove yourself from